The Minimalists want to help you avoid impulse purchases. That's why we created 5 questions to ask before buying, which is now a wallpaper for your smartphone. Now you'll always have a reminder when you're getting ready to purchase something new. Head on over to theminimalists.com/before to download your free wallpaper today.
The Minimalists.
Hey Josh, I have a question before I ask this. How do I find life balance? No, his question is, how do I find work-life balance?
What does that really mean, though? When do people ask this question?
They are overworked. They're overworking themselves. They're overextending themselves, and they are in a position that they feel that it is unsustainable. And if they're asking this question, that's probably what's happening.
Or they're overlifed.
Or they're overlifed. You're never overlifed. You're always overworked.
Right? Isn't that the thing? Like, when people ask this question, it never comes from a place of like, I spend too much time with my family. I exercise way too much, and I spend appropriate amount of time eating healthy meals. My big problem is I just don't work enough. Now, the person who's asking, how do I find work-life balance is saying, how do I stop working so much? Here's what I will say. I think by and large, balance encourages mediocrity. And if that's what you're seeking is mediocrity, there's nothing wrong with that. Mediocrity is not a bad word. I'm mediocre in most of the things I do. Let me give you an example. I cook my own meals almost every day, and I do a very mediocre job of it. There's no excellence in my chef skills, and I'm totally fine with it. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not I shouldn't get better. Like it's none of that. It is merely saying that I don't have a deep desire to become a chef. And so work, when we think about the term work, what we're talking about is that, well, I have to show up and I feel like I'm working too many hours. I never feel like I'm working too many hours, Ryan, because I have a deep desire to do the work that we do.
Yeah.
And in doing that, it's not like, oh, I can't believe we have to record a podcast today, or I can't believe I have to write this thing. I don't need balance at all. I simply do the thing. And so
yeah, but even if you did feel that way, we would just be like, okay, then we're not going to record as many podcasts.
Bingo.
I mean, there are times when you've had health problems where you're like, hey, I'm not going to do interviews. I'm not going to do this. Can you do this for me? And I'm like, yeah, great. I'll do that for you. And I don't feel overworked. And if I did, I'd be like, no, I can't do those things. So I guess they're not going to get done. And that's okay.
Right. And so really what you're saying there is sometimes we say no because we realize we don't have the capacity to do a thing. Just because you have the time to do a thing doesn't mean you have the capacity to do that thing. Tweet that podcast, Sean. And so I think, unfortunately, we mistake it as like, well, I can say yes to this, or it's just one more yes, or whatever it is. But we get buried by our yeses, and that's how we become obligated and committed to a bunch of things we don't want to be obligated to or committed to, right? And so how do I find work-life balance? I found it by not looking for it anymore. The problem for me was looking for work-life balance. There are 168 hours in a week, and I'm going to schedule them out methodically and orderly, and I'm going to alphabetize my week. And by the end of it, I was really stressed out and miserable, not sleeping enough because I was fully balanced. And so, yeah, I reject your question.